Alright, what's up guys, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh video. It's been a while. I haven't really been able to make videos for about the past month. I was away for a couple weeks and other stuff got in the way. But yeah, we are back now with another CGC return video. This is a bulk submission with one express card as well. And yeah, a little bit more up and down I'd say than the other CGC submissions I've had so far. But definitely still a lot of awesome grades, so let's just get right into it. Now I sent one card express, which was this wavy first ed LOB Blue Eyes. I was hoping for a 9 on this. It does have quite a big print dot up here. That's from the factory, but it's pretty obvious. And it also has one really tiny pin dent on the foil around about this region of the card. Aside from that, it is absolutely beautiful. No whitening. Pretty much a pristine surface. So I figured it had a decent chance for a 9, but it all depended how the surface graded. And they gave it an 8 on surface, so it only got an 8.5 overall. And I think I'll probably just sell it like this. I was thinking about resubmitting it, trying to get the 8.5 on surface, but realistically, I'm okay with it as it is. Still a beautiful card. Now getting into the bulk returns, starting off with a foil line Swords Revealing Light. You guys can see the different effect on the foil there. This is kind of similar to the Blue Eyes. It's a pack fresh card. This one's kind of off center. And then it has these print spots on the back. So that's not damage, it's not inking, anything like that. It's literally under the surface of the card, just what's being printed from the factory. I was hoping for a 9. It got an 8.5 surface, 8.5 centering, so it got an 8.5 overall. Slightly disappointing, but again, it's okay, and I probably won't bother resubmitting it. Alright, next up is another Swords of Revealing Light. This is a first ed wavy copy. It's also faded, about as faded as it can be. But with magic cards, especially swords, where there isn't really any magenta in the artwork either, you can't really see that it's faded, and so they didn't actually mark it here. But yeah, we got a mint 9, 8.5 centering, 9 surface. Both of those I feel could get like 0.5 higher on a better day. The surface especially is really nice and clean on this. I'm not sure what happened there. But yeah, maybe 1 to resub. I'll think about it. Next up is a foil line Glossy Unlimited Dark Magician. I actually have 2 of these. One of them I just keep raw in my binder. This one I decided to submit. I didn't expect a good grade at all. You guys can see it's got quite a bit of whitening on the front. And then I think it has even more whitening on the back and a decent amount of surface scratching as well and stuff like that. So I figured it would get something like a 6 to a 7, and yeah, it got a 6.5, so pretty much exactly what I figured it would get. And it wasn't really about the grade, I just wanted to have it slapped up with the CGC case. It's a nice way of displaying it. Next up is another Glossy Unlimited LOB Dark Magician. This one was a basic 9.5 from BGS. I thought it could do a little better than that. It's a really nice clean card, and it had a 9 on edges for no reason. So I decided to cross it, and we did get a higher 9.5, so this is a quad plus. And actually with a 10 on edges where BGS had a 9. This one might be for sale. I haven't really decided, but I already have a PSA 10, so I don't technically need it. Next up is another card I cracked from BGS. This is the Glossy Unlimited Dark Magician, which I actually pulled myself. If you guys watched my starter deck Yugi and Kaiba opening from a couple years back. Originally, it got a quad plus 9.5 at BGS, 9.5 edges, and I think surface as well. Surface on it was pristine. The edges are really the only thing which have anything wrong, just the tiniest bit of like cutting issues on the top and bottom. So I decided to try and cross it to a CGC 10, and we got it. CGC Pristine 10 with the 9.5 edges as expected, and then 10 on the rest. So yeah, very cool card. It's kind of crazy I've graded 2 of these now. I already have a foil line error, Glossy Unlimited Dark Magician 10. Now I have a non-foil line as well. So this probably could be for sale for the right amount, but I'm also happy to keep it. Next up is the other card that I pulled from that opening, the Blue Eyes White Dragon. Now this was a BGS 9. I believe it had an 8.5 on centering and a 9 on surface. But the surface was absolutely like pristine condition-wise. It's just this tiny little print dot here, which is very common on SDK Blue Eyes. I decided to try cross it to a CGC 9.5 because any kind of gem on this would just be awesome. As far as I know, no SDK or LOB Glossy Unlimited Blue Ice has ever graded a gem. And we got it. We got the gem at 9.5. 9 centering, 9.5 surface, and then 10 edges corners. So I was very happy with this one. Maybe the most exciting card in the sub for me as a collector. Alright, next up is a Fiend Mega Cyber. I think CGC sent the cards back slightly out of order, so this isn't the same order that I submitted them in. This one, I was hoping for a 9.5 with probably a 9 surface. It just has a bit of like scratching on the back. And we actually got a quad 9.5, 9.5 all across the board. So yeah, pretty solid result. I have another gem of this already, so this one will be for sale. Alright, next up is another card that I crossed from BGS. I actually picked this up recently as a quad plus 9.5. I thought it looked really clean, so I pretty much bought it with the intent of crossing it to CGC and trying to get a 10. This one's actually a little bit faded as well. If I bring up like another PSV trap, you guys can see the slight difference in color and the border on the text box. So yeah, the idea was to get a pristine 10 if we could, and that's what we got. Pristine 10, 9.5 surface, and 10 on the rest. Getting 10s at CGC is definitely a little bit easier than BGS. I mean, I've probably had like 15 or so 10s already from CGC at this point after subbing maybe 150, 200 cards. With BGS, I've only had 2 ever, and that's out of like 500 cards, just to give you guys an idea. All right, next up, this is the Grave Robber I just brought up for comparison a second ago. This was a quad plus plus BGS 9.5, even cleaner than the Magical Hats. I was kind of hoping this might get a perfect 10, which I've still never had from CGC, but it did just get a pristine 10, still with a 9.5 surface. It has like the tiniest bit of waxing just in the middle there from the factory. So that's why it got a 9.5 surface. And I guess that's fair enough. Still very happy to have it as a pristine. Alright, next up is one of the weird things from the sub. So this isn't technically a card I submitted in this submission. This was from an older sub. And it was mislabeled as a reprint, so I sent it back to get the label corrected. And I have no idea what happened. They just sent it back with like a new label, which has the correct thing saying it's an original print, Glossy Unlimited. But they didn't put it inside the case. They just stuck it on top. So I have no idea what happened here. I'll have to reach out to them and check that out. Hopefully we can get that relabeled at some point to not say it's a reprint. Alright, next up is a very cool card, which I didn't realize that CGC actually graded. I emailed them around the time they actually started grading Yu-Gi-Oh cards about these Bionicle cuts, and the reply I got back was that they don't grade Bionicle cards, so they weren't going to grade this. Which didn't really make sense to me, but anyway, I wasn't that bothered about arguing with them. But I saw on Facebook recently someone posted one of these graded by CGC, and so I decided to try sending it in, and they did actually grade it. So we got an 8.5 Bionicle miscut. They call it Trap Hole, I guess, because that's the card with the biggest amount on the on what's showing. But yeah, pretty cool, and I think the grade is about right. I wasn't expecting a 9 or higher. Next up is another misprint. This is my Name Shift Glossy Unlimited Left Leg of the Forbidden One. Mostly pretty clean. It just has a couple of little scratches and some whitening on the back. And that pretty much got reflected in the grade. 8.5 surface, 8.5 edges, and then 9.5, 10 on the rest. Definitely happy with the 8.5 on this. Alright, next up is a really nice card. I got this in a collection last year. Subbed it to BGS hoping for a 10, and it got a quad plus 9.5, I believe. And I just kept it like that for a while, but with CGC being a bit more generous on pristines, I figured I might as well give it a shot. And we got a pristine 10, which is really nice. This is easily one of my favorite secret rares and one of the most nostalgic to me as well. So getting a pristine 10 is just a really nice thing to add to my collection. On the Surface 9.5 on this, I was actually kind of surprised by it. I probably expected a 9.5 centering. It's a tiny bit tilted and a tiny bit off top to bottom. I mean, it's great centering. It's just not literally perfect. Whereas the surface on this, honestly, I think was essentially perfect. So I might see about trying to get the surface bumped at some point, because a perfect 10 would be insane. All right, next up, another really clean secret rare from the same collection. This was, again, I think a Quad Plus BGS 9.5. I thought I could get a Pristine, and it did. Same subgrades again, 9.5 surface, 10 centering. And again, same with the Blue Eyes Toon Dragon. I'd probably swap them if I was giving the subgrades myself. Centering is a tiny bit off left to right, whereas the surface is really, really clean on both sides. But yeah, at the end of the day, it got the grade I wanted, so I will absolutely take it. Right, next up is a European Unlimited Mystical Space Typhoon MRLE. Pretty much the only reason I sent this was because I figured it could get an OC grade. It's just really off center top to bottom. And it didn't actually get that. It got an 8 on centering and then 9.5 on the rest. So kind of ashamed to not get the OC designation, but I'm okay with it. I mean, it's still a mint 9, probably just about worth what I paid to submit it. So yeah, that's all right. A few of these cards I pretty much just subbed because CGC has a minimum, and at the time that I sent these, the minimum was still 50 cards, so I had to chuck in a few things to make the numbers up. All right, this card I purely subbed for the hell of it. This was actually a gift from a friend. It's a Glossy Unlimited foil line polymerization, which is a very cool card, but the condition is rough. You guys can see a lot of foil scratching, corner issues, just everything. It's pretty much a heavy play card. I was expecting something like a 3 on this, and we actually got a 4.5, which was higher than I expected. 3.5 surface, 4.5 corners, 5.5 edges. It's got a lot of scuffing on the back and stuff like that. But yeah, still cool to have another Glossy Unlimited foil line slapped up with CGC. I think I have every single one of my foil lines that's not a duplicate slapped up with them at this point. So maybe at some point I'll make a full set, but I'm still quite a long way from that at the moment. All right, next up is a Wavy Unlimited Dark Hole. I subbed this one to CGC because the centering is way off, so I figured PSA probably wouldn't give it a 9. But yeah, with CGC, no matter how bad the centering is, it can still get a 9, which is a really nice thing to note when you have a clean OC card like this. Next up, we have a kind of faded 1.5 print right arm. I thought this was faded enough that they would give it the designation, but they didn't. They just labeled it regular. But it did get a 9.5 gem mint, which is nice. This will be for sale. Same with the Dark Hole as well. This is another Wavy Unlimited card from LOB. This one is pack fresh, this Monster Reborn, but I don't know how well it picks up on camera, but it has like this weird factory stuff on the back. It's just part of the surface. It's like slightly rough to touch. I think it's an error with the way the card was glossed originally. So I had no idea how to expect it to grade on surface. Edges, corners are pristine. Centering is pretty good. So I was hoping it would get like anywhere between an 8 and a 9 would be good. And we got a mint 9, 8.5 surface, 9.5, 10.10. So that's really nice. And I have a PSA 10 of this already, so again, this will be for sale. All right, now next up, this is one of the cards that's definitely staying in my collection. This is a Wavy Unlimited LOB Blue Eyes. Very hard to find these in clean shape. This one is absolutely pack fresh, pristine condition, nothing wrong with it. But it is off center, and PSA gave it an 8 twice when I tried submitting it to them, purely because of that top to bottom shift. So yeah, I figured it was time to send it to CGC because it could get a 9 no matter how bad the centering grade was. And it did pretty much as well as it could have done. 8.5 centering, 9.5 surface, 10 edges, 10 corners. So pretty much a gem, just off center. And yeah, I'm really happy to have that one in the collection. It's got nice deep waves as well with the texture. Sometimes Wavy Unlimited LOB is a little bit flatter than the first eds, but yeah, this one has that nice deep texture that you expect. All right, next up is another card I bought as a BGS 9.5, Quad Plus. Pretty much, again, bought it to try and cross it to CGC. This one is a little bit off center, not badly, just a tiny bit top to bottom. But aside from that, literally just a flawless card. Absolutely no waxing, no scratching, no whitening, nothing. And we got the pristine 10, so 9.5 centering, 10 on the rest. This one is really exciting for me. I just love Delinquent Duo, one of my favorite Magic cards from the OG era. And having a pristine 10 is just a lot cooler than having a gem mint 10, which I already have a PSA 10 as well. Alright, next up is a reverse foil Lava Golem. This one has a decent amount of foil bleed as well, but I don't think it really shows that well on camera. This one I graded with PSA and it just got a 9, I think because of centering. I thought about trying it again because a PSA 10 would be ideal on it, but I figured I might as well just send it to CGC as a safe bet. And we got a gem bit 9.5. 9.5 centering and surface, 10 edges, corners, so really nice grade. And I'm pretty happy I subbed it to CGC in the end. This one will probably be for sale. Right, next up we have a couple of ultis. This is a Mega Rock Dragon from the Lost Millennium. Just a North American print, which I don't really collect because the European looks so much nicer. But this one was absolutely flawless, so I figured I'd send it to CGC, try and get some kind of 10 on it. And again, we did get a 10. This time I really don't know why it didn't get a 10 on surface. Like with the Grave Robber earlier, it did have a little bit of waxing. These like early North American print ultimate rares just tend to be absolutely pristine on surface, and this one is no exception. So at some point it does kind of feel like they're just trying to not give perfect 10s, because I really don't know why this didn't get a 10 on surface of all subgrades. Pretty much the same deal on the next card. This is a really clean D-Time from Enemy of Justice North American print. I sent it hoping for a perfect 10, and it just got a pristine with the 9.5 surface again. And like, I really can't see anything whatsoever on either side of the surface. So yeah, it's still a really nice grade. I'm not going to complain with a pristine 10, but I do wish I'd get a few more perfect 10s, because getting like, what, 15 pristines and 0 perfect 10s so far on what I've subbed is starting to get a little bit weird to me. Next up we have a Neo-Spacian Flare Scarab. It has this very slight kind of binder ding going on here. Very light, like you barely see it. But the grader did spot it, and that's why it has an 8 on surface for an 8.5 overall. Then we have a Neo-Spacian Dark Panther. This one I think had a couple of very light scratches on the back, possibly, somewhere up here. So again, I figured it wouldn't quite get a PSA 10, but it did manage to get a CGC 9.5 with a 9 surface, which is nice. And then rounding out the trio, we have a Neo-Spacian Aqua Dolphin. This one I thought could get a 9.5, but with like a 9 on centering, because it's pretty off center. Somehow it ended up with a 10 on centering, which is just strange. I mean, sometimes you get a 10 on centering and the card's a little bit off center. This one is like way OC, especially because it's tilted. Like at the bottom, that's probably 65-35. For sure, like no better than 60-40. So it's pretty sloppy giving it a 10 on centering, but it is what it is. CGC is pretty inconsistent when it comes to centering, and this card just kind of shows that again. Now the next card was absolutely shocking to me. This is an Ojama King from Soul of the Duelist. I got this in the recent collection I bought, and it is really clean for Soul of the Duelist. It's about as clean as it ever gets. The reason I didn't send it to PSA was because the centering is kind of shifted top to bottom. I thought it would probably just get a PSA 9, but it's really clean. Like the amount of waxing it has is really low, just a few little lines on the back. Edges and corners are great as well. So I was just hoping for a 9.5 on this. I would have taken any kind of 9.5 grade, and we actually got a pristine 10. So centering got a 9.5, which was surprising. It's not outrageous, but I'd say it's a little bit off center for that. And surface got a 10, which for a Soul of the Duelist card is insane. And it is pretty clean. It's about as clean as you'll ever see, but there's still a little bit of waxing in the middle. There's a few vertical lines. So yeah, just an insane grade. I already have a PSA 10, which is probably better than this copy overall because it has better centering. So I'm not sure if I'm going to keep both of them, if I'm going to sell one, but either way, just an amazing card. Next up, we have another ulti from that same collection. This is a Crystal Beast Sapphire Pegasus. Kind of the same thing as the Ojama King. I didn't send it to PSA because I thought left to right centering might knock it to a 9. But it should be a pretty safe CGC 9.5. And it actually managed to get a 9.5 centering, so almost got a pristine 10 overall. Qual++ 9.5. So yeah, very happy with that grade. Crystal Beasts are my favorite GX archetype, and this has always been my favorite Crystal Beast card. Getting towards the end of the sub, we have 3 cards left. First up is a Divine Wrath. Again, I kind of just subbed this to make up the numbers. It's way off center. Pretty much missing the right-hand border, which does happen a bit with Rise of Destiny. Pretty clean. I would say it's like 9 quality, and that's what it got. Mint 9 with the OC on centering, 9 surface, 10 edges corners. This one's probably for sale if anyone's interested. Pretty random card, but it is one of my favorite supers from Rise of Destiny. Next up, we have a Prometheus, King of the Shadows. This one is like absolutely gem mint, but it has this one long scratch on the back. So I wasn't really sure what to expect. Probably around what it got, like an 8.5 surface, and then 10.10, 9.5 on the rest. But yeah, mint 9 overall still makes it worth subbing. And again, I had to submit a few cards that I wouldn't necessarily sub to CGC otherwise, just to make out the numbers on the bulk sub. Alright, and the final card, this is the Shadowless Raichu, which I think I've had already in 2 returns on this channel. It got a PSA 6 when I subbed it to PSA, I have no idea why. And then I think it got a CGC 8, and it had like a 7 or a 7.5 on surface, which I still had no idea why it had that grade. It's a really nice clean card. I actually pulled it myself a long time ago. And yeah, I mean, it's about as clean as you can get on a Shadowless Holo. So I decided to resubmit it one more time, and we did manage to get a mint 9 finally. 8.5 centering, which is fair. It's way off top to bottom. And then 9 surface, 9.5 edges and corners. So yeah, finally a bit of justice on this one, and it's nice to have it slapped up as a mint 9 all these years after pulling it. And yeah, that pretty much brings us to the end of this video. That's the whole submission. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I thought overall the grades were pretty good. We got like 8 or 9 Pristines, which is amazing for the number of cards I submitted. A handful of weird things like cards getting overgraded or undergraded, and then that Reaper of the Cards thing where they just didn't even change the label. But overall, I'm still happy with it. That's still a much better experience, I'd say, than an average like PSA or BGS return at the moment. So yeah, I'm happy with the submission, and I do already have more cards at CGC, so we'll be getting another return pretty soon. But yeah, with that being said, this is Schlost, signing out, and I hope you guys all have a great day.